This episode of the TRXL podcast is made possible with support from ArchIT. Are you tired of standard IT services that miss the mark? Choose ArchIT for specialized, proactive IT management, BIM support, and robust data security tailored for architects. Whether you're a team of 10 or a growing firm of 50 plus, ArchIT understands the architecture industry and will empower your unique creative vision to enable you to do your best work. Embrace a technology team that enhances, not hinders, your design process. Visit getarchit.com for your free IT assessment and start transforming your firm and your tech experience today. That's getarchit.com. Welcome to the TRXL podcast. I'm Evan TRXL. In this episode, I welcome Ryan Cameron. Ryan is the digital practice leader for CMBA Architects. In this episode, we discuss the recent AI-focused technology and architecture practice, also known as TAP, symposium that happened at the AIA National Conference in Washington, D.C. Ryan's going to share some insights from the symposium that was headlined by keynote speakers Phil Bernstein and Mehdi Nourbakhsh, who was also on the podcast previously, and provides an explanation of what these knowledge communities are and how they fit into the larger AIA. Ryan is the 2024 AIA TAP chair, so he knows what he's talking about. We also talk about the origins and evolution of TAP, their mission, their annual symposium, their online forums, and future initiatives aimed at supporting small and medium-sized architecture firms, what TAP is doing in the growing intersection between technology and architecture, the importance of sharing across the profession, how TAP's volunteers are leading the charge in this community, and some exciting new opportunities for innovation grants being offered by TAP. Before we jump into the conversation, please help the podcast by subscribing on both YouTube and in your favorite podcast app to let me know that you're a fan. And if you'd like to receive an email when episodes are published with all of the links and other information from the episode, you can sign up at TRXL.co. You can also directly support the show by becoming a member at the site as well. So as always, thank you so much for listening, and I hope that you find value in this episode. And so now, without further ado, I bring you my conversation with Ryan Cameron. I am joined today by Ryan Cameron. Ryan, welcome to the podcast. Great to have you.
Yeah, no, this is great. Thanks so much, Evan, for having me.
We just saw each other in Washington, D.C. at the TAP symposium that happened, and that was like an all-day event that was the day prior to the actual conference kickoff, I believe, if I got my timeline right. So maybe we could start there and just talk about what TAP is before we get into maybe how that symposium went, because I know event planning is hard. I've done it before.
Yeah, we'll talk
I can
about
only
that.
imagine.
Yeah.
I can imagine what you went through to create an all-day event with, I mean, a couple hundred people were there for that. So it was a fantastic turnout and fantastic content shared during that. Especially the keynote speakers were just incredible. So anyway, let's rewind a little bit. And actually, even before we talk about TAP, let's just talk about you. And maybe you can give us your origin story and your trajectory through the AEC tech side of things.
Oh, yeah. So I think a lot of folks might know me from speaking at AU or back in the day it was called RTC or those types of things. But yeah, my goal in life was to become an architect. And so that's what I went to school for in Nebraska. I went to college with, I think a lot of people are familiar with like Nate Miller, of Proving Ground, and maybe Dave Patera of DeRofus. And so a couple of us, took the technology route, it seems like. And I am still practicing architecture. I'm stamping drawings, doing specs, all that fun stuff. But I also kind of do this whole technology thing on the side too. I think a lot of folks know me from back in my days at maybe DLR Group, but now I'm with CMBA Architects as their digital practice leader. And so that's just a fancy way of saying I'm here to help modernize the practice. And so I'd say I've been licensed for 13 years, been in the biz for 23 years. So yeah, I've got to know a lot of folks, and it's just an incredible community. And I'm really excited to share more about TAP today because it's super important. And I don't think a lot of people know about TAP. So Yeah.
Yeah, let's jump into that part. And maybe you can explain your role there and kind of how that side of it works as well, because there is kind of the organization part of it, and anybody who's an AIA member can participate in that. But also there's just like this, like the structure of TAP and how it works and how long people are, committed to it when they're involved. And there's that whole side of it as well, which I would love to talk about so that people get a full understanding of what TAP is and how it's helping the profession.
Yeah. Yeah. Who are we? Why are we here? What is TAP? So right. I'm glad you asked. So TAP, Technology and Architecture Practice, is one of over a dozen, maybe even 24 AIA knowledge communities out of all the something like 52 community groups that the AIA has. So I think depending on what you focus on in architecture, I feel like most people know about maybe like the CODI knowledge community or the COAT group. I'm trying to pronounce both ways, Committee on the Environment, the Academy of Architecture for Health, Project Delivery, Practice Management. So TAP is the only one that has ever had a conference at the larger like national AIA conference. And number two, the only one that holds a symposium every year. And so formerly we called it Building Connections Congress. So we're really thankful to have that opportunity. I feel like we do a really good job at it. We draw a lot of folks. For a number of years, it was just hosted at the DC headquarters. We were limited to, I think, 100 folks. But now we're basically whatever we can fill. And usually we're 200, 300 folks attending every year. So it's, at a high level where it fits into the broader AIA national organization. And so, so a knowledge community, that's what we are. We're a component of the AIA. But why are we here, Evan? So at the
more important.
We strive to provide like world-class resources that improve designers' experience in learning about new technology. So we've got the online forum. We hold a symposium every year. We want to be that resource hub. We're trying every year to bring more information, more knowledge to everybody, have conversations about technology. And we do this by building a community that focuses on the value of sharing insights and managing knowledge and discovering the emerging trends with the future of practice. And right now we have roughly 15,600 subscribers, if you will, people that sign on for the TAP forum online. So we feel like that represents a pretty good chunk of the overall 100,000 or so members. These are just the folks that are maybe a little bit more technology focused and want to see, how to improve the business from that angle.
So your mission, like as you stated, is basically to provide exposure of new ideas, technology, new ways of doing things to the broader AIA community. And I feel like, being part of larger firms, as you were with DLR and you are currently, and when I was digital practice leader at HMC Architects, like we have access to resources that a lot of small and medium firms don't, right? We were part of the large firm roundtable. Large firm just automatically segments that into a certain group, right? And that's not the majority of the AIA, right? The majority of the AIA, so something like over 80% is small firms that make up the AIA. So that's a lot of people who are underrepresented when it comes to technology sharing, things like that. And obviously resources are also more scarce in smaller firms. I would just venture to guess. I don't know budget numbers or anything, but so TAP really becomes kind of an all access. Anybody who has an interest or wants to be included just opts in as an AIA member to that, right?
Yeah. It's free to join. There's no additional charge or anything like that. Just jump on the forum and post a question. We try to get back to you as soon as we can. And in your first year, and I'll mention this later, but your first year, the first year of your 5 years, we try to have that person monitor conversations and keep that active, in a sense, to help folks who are maybe struggling, just have a question about what software does what, how much should it cost, how long should I expect, who do I ask for training, just there could be a million questions, and we'll talk about this here later, because I feel like the small firm exchange, which is also a component. We formed a group here at TAP last year, and I'm in charge of it, I guess. And we want to get out a survey. So we're going to work with National AIA to kind of come up with a survey of like, what are your questions? And then Tessel Collier with HMTB, she's on the committee with me. She's been super helpful at helping get that move forward too. So that's something to look forward to. That's coming. We want to understand what is going on at small firms and how TAP can better serve that. Because right now, a forum's not enough. We know that. We're volunteers, by the way, 100% unpaid, but we still know. I just deep down, I feel like we can do better, and we need to do better. And so that's one angle that I'm here for. I'm in halfway through my third year on the TAP board, so I want to make sure that this becomes a full thing every year to help keep small firms under 100. And granted, 10 and under, and 11 to 100 is small and medium. We want to make sure that group is represented because, as you mentioned, it's something like 80% of firms in the country are under 100, well under 100.
Right. Yeah, probably less than 10, right? So
yeah,
oftentimes leaders in those firms are wearing many, many hats, right? And so technology can be a very small hat when it comes to what they have time for with all the other clients and project deadlines, and that they're dealing with submittals and emails and all these other things, and that becomes quite a burden. So yeah, it seems appropriate to reach out and ask them what they are interested in hearing more about and what kinds of questions they have, because I can imagine that they have very similar questions to a lot of other people. I always found this even in the large firm. It's like, are you dealing with this? Are you struggling with this? It's like everybody raises their hands. Yep. Even though you feel like you're dealing with a lot of this stuff in isolation, you're totally not. It's just firms don't really reach out and talk to other firm owners about these kinds of things that often, or other technology leaders. It's like only during these conferences or symposiums is when that really happens at a much higher frequency, right? So creating, it seems like everybody's connected all the time, right? So it shouldn't be that hard to figure out ways to engage and get people's questions answered. But also, you're going to, I don't like this term, but you're killing multiple birds with one stone, right? Lots of people have the same question, right? It's so by answering somebody's question, you're going to help a lot of people out, and it seems like this should be no brainer. There's easy to do.
Yeah, and so we just kind of want to help monitor the development of technology and keep those discussions going. And then, like I said, provide resources. And actually AIA California came up with an absolute dynamite resource on their website. It's kind of like a toolkit. It's like you pick the size of your firm, you pick what area of practice, marketing, design, another pull down, and then you pick something else. And then it comes up with the whole, granted it's a spreadsheet that comes back, but it comes up with the whole spreadsheet of like, here's Revit, here's cost expectations, here's, reviews, and here's Enscape, and here's the blah, 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 and all these things. It's like every software imaginable. Here's how much, you should expect to pay for Photoshop, and how many firms are using it. And it's just this amazing database of information that firms can access for free. So hats off to that team for developing that.
Nice. So what kinds of initiatives are you doing beyond that one at TAP?
Yeah, so we've really picked it up a little bit. It used to be you just came in and put on a show, and then you just sort of like relaxed for the rest of your duration. But I came in and I got really moved by the small firm exchange conversation. I basically just sat in on one of their calls and just happened to be focused on like AI or technology, and everybody was hurting, and that just really struck me inside. I was like, wow, what's the AA? Hey, you're going to be the chair someday for TAP. You better like get on top of this and like help these firms. Like, this is ridiculous that the IA is, hopefully I don't get in trouble here, but like we should be like helping these firms that are members, like at least come up with a playbook of how to develop this or strategize and help them move forward. And so that's where the theme from TAP really came from. We did brainstorming Smash Buzzwords Together session, but that's where it really came from. It went from being like developing a toolkit to really thinking like, no, it's bigger than that. Step back. It's a playbook, It's like an approach, right? AI can't like we shouldn't be making like demand or things like that. Like you have to do it this way, you have to do it that way. We should have a general playbook of like, hey, here's a case study of how you could do it. And here's like a playbook of like, you've got these players, you've got this coach, you got this team. Here's how you can, make play calls. Sorry for the sports metaphors here, but here's how you can make play calls with these different options depending on the defense or offense you're going against. And what your strategies and objectives. Are you going for delay of game? Are you going for a field goal? Are you going for a touchdown or a 10-yard pass? Like that's how businesses operate essentially. It's like, what are our positions? What are our people? How much is it going to cost? How much time is it going to take? Like you think about a game clock running down and your resources available to you. Like you want a playbook that everybody, the coaches and the players are reading from. And so that's really where it's important, right? It's important for firms to have that. So we want to help develop that. And then we, just like every person ever, oh, hey, I got it. Like, oh, I know this. We didn't know anything. We went into the second call and we asked a couple questions and it's scattershot. And so we realized that this is going to take a year of probably half dozen phone calls like the ones we were having with a full map of different areas of technology that need a resource management guide, essentially, again, a playbook for folks to understand like when are you large enough to move from your like a smaller enterprise resource tool to a larger enterprise resource tool, like when you move from a Jira, Deltek Jira to a different timesheet management, payroll type thing. Are you insourcing? Or are you outsourcing that? It's just amazing the conversations we started having. So we started to break those into different categories, like design, marketing, project management, all the different categories, and we're coming up with surveys. We're at the point now where AIA has a survey team that we're going to be talking with to actually do a better job of doing that, because that's their full-time job. This is more my hobby, so they will do a much better job. Tesla and I and the rest of the team have the ideas to get this thing off the ground. So that's really what we're hoping to do over the next year. I'm really excited about it.
I have to just pause and say hello to Tesla myself, because I know she listens, and every time I see her, I love talking to her and seeing her. So hi, Tesla. This episode is made possible with support from AVAIL. AVAIL makes the best software to manage all of your AEC digital content. Dedicated to developing tools that save AEC teams time, AVAIL has now added Revit Application Version Management to its suite of content management capabilities. Once a painful manual process, Revit Application Versioning is now automatic for AVAIL customers. Publishers simply upload files to an AVAIL channel, and the files are automatically converted to newer versions from Revit 2021 through Revit 2025. For users, the experience is then seamless. They can search, select, and utilize the Revit content in AVAIL, regardless of what Revit version they are working in. Inquire about a demo of AVAIL and its new Revit Application Version Management features today at getavail.com/request-demo. My thanks to AVAIL for supporting this episode of the TRXL podcast. And now, let's get back to the conversation. One thing that's interesting to me about technology in practice, it's right in the name, right? It's like, and this is something that we saw a big transition when I was at the firm that I was at, which is that technology impacts all the different aspects of practice, and it's not just IT, right? I think before I really went into the role of digital practice leader, it was IT, and it was very reactive, putting out fires, setting up people with hardware, getting software installed, but it didn't include the perspective of the actual practitioners. It was more of it was like a service that operated within the firm that was just constantly dealing with problems. And so it was very hard for that to be proactive, because all of the time was spent being reactive, right? And I'm sure smaller and medium-sized firms feel like that all the time. And it's like, how do you get ahead of things? How do you get strategic with technology? And the things that you're talking about are in alignment with that. And so for our firm to move from reactive IT to proactive digital practice, like what we were talking about, we're always talking about it like it was the future of practice, but it's just practice, right? This is how practice has evolved, right?
Just need to modernize.
And people still think of it though as like these different buckets. Like there's architecture, there's design, there's sustainability, there's technology. And it's actually horizontal. It's like those things are in all areas of practice. So it could be HR, graphics, marketing, rendering, delivery of projects, QA, specifications. Like there's all these different pieces of architecture that make up a project and make up how firms run that technology impacts. And what you're talking about is kind of cohesively looking at all of that, right? Because you talked about practice operations software, right? It's like, how are we tracking what we're doing? How are we tracking our billing? How are we getting people to know what to do and when to do it? And how do we get ahead of that when we're staffing projects and all of these things? Like all of these things have to work together, and it needs to be a cohesive strategy. I mean, that to me is where TAP can really make a huge difference in firms who are struggling with the transition of the way that we used to do it to the way that people are doing it now. And when new people are joining firms, they're expecting this level of technology, and they're walking into firms and they're seeing the way that it's always been done still, right? So there's a natural contrast there that it's like, it's kind of shocking when graduates come out of school and they go into a firm where it's like they're not modern. They're still doing things the old way, right? And you see other verticals out there, and it's like they look really so much more attractive because they are just evolving and keeping up or getting ahead of it. So transitioning from reactive to proactive and strategic seems to be one of the things that TAP can really help with the conversation around and helping people make those transitions.
Yeah, super important. Super important. We mentioned Tesla. We should probably mention all the board and committee members.
Yeah, do it. Okay.
I don't want anybody to feel left out. But we have an amazing group of appointments over the last 2 decades. I can't list everybody, but just the folks that are on now, they just deserve a lot of credit. And so our current group consists of Nick Cameron, FAIA, who just got FAIA.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's been on your show. He's from Perkins and Will. He's my 16th cousin, no doubt. We have the same last name, both from Scotland, and at some point in our lives, our history, I'm sure. And then Joel Martinell de Rofus, he's in his 4th year, so Nick's in his final year on the board, and then Joel's in his 4th year. Myself, I'm in my 3rd year of the chair for this year, so I think people remember that event. Then next up, we have a good friend of mine, co-speaker for Top Speaker Award at AU 17 and 18, Cesar Escalante. He's at Autodesk, and people know Cesar. He's on the AI California board. He's very active in the community. He's creating like San Francisco computational users design groups, things like that. Leading a whole bunch of things. He's amazing. And he'll be my successor next year as chair. And then our newest 5-year member is Vicky Harris, also very well known from her Build RTC days. And she's at HKS. And so those are our 5-year members. But also, last year, we decided we were overwhelmed and we needed help. And so we expanded our committee. And we thought to ourselves, hey, we need like a design technology leaders group. We need a CIO, CTO, large from roundtable type people. And so luckily, Alex Pollock, Thornton Tomasetti joined us last year and this year. And then we got Brent Naughty from Turner, am I pronouncing it right? Turner Fleischer? Yeah, he's the little CTO there. And so they're forming a little group. And so that way we have just an olive branch, if you will, to the other groups that are out there that deal with technology, because it seems like we're doing something and they're doing something. And we just want to make sure that we're not doing duplicate work and stuff like that. Then we mentioned Tesla, of course, from HNTB, and then Sarah Loudman with Lord Ack Sargent. LAS. And so all amazing folks, and they're on the subcommittee, small firm exchange subcommittee with me, and sustainability. So we're not trying to take over any other groups. We know that there's a lot of technology branches that we can help with. And of course, Emma Tucker is our AIA knowledge community liaison, does like all the heavy lifting. She's super helpful in all aspects here. So hats off to her as well. So that's everybody. And we will be bringing on someone new probably in December or January. So yeah.
Can you talk about that process and what the commitment is, how it happens, so that people who are interested just have an understanding of what the expectations would be?
Yeah. I wish I would have known what I know now. So if you're listening to the podcast, get ready, because, we'll tell you that it's like an hour a month kind of thing, but that's just the call. That's just the monthly call that you're on. And so I'm not saying it's like 100 hours a month, but there are, especially in your third year, there might be a pretty lengthy time commitment, because you're obviously sitting down with folks and trying to put on a conference that you've probably never done before. But and so initially, and I think submissions for new members on the board are closed now, or it might still be open for another week. But we take submissions, so I don't want to say it's an intense process, but we will sort of interview you. We have a list of questions we ask you. We ask that you provide like a cover letter. Why do you want to be on the TAP committee? The most important thing is let your firm know. Get somebody in leadership, whether it's the CEO or CIO, let them know that you plan on joining, because there is some financial commitment that the firm needs to make. So we do need a letter from someone at your firm that helps sign the checks, because there will be times where we can't reimburse you for a hotel or a flight or something like that, or an opportunity comes up and we offer people the chance to go to a leadership summit like in DC or something like that, which is an incredible opportunity. We just need to let folks know, and then a resume. And so those three things, just to kind of get in the door. And then the 5-year people kind of sit down in a Zoom call and go over them, and then kind of vote on it, and we accept the next person onto the team. Because again, it's like it's a moving situation. It's a 5-year commitment. It's a roll.
Yeah.
So and so first year. So now we're getting into it. So welcome to the admissions component of this. Now that you're on, it's like your first year. We just try to ease you into the process. You're basically in charge of the online forum. So discussion groups, comment section, that sort of stuff. And we do that just so that you get to know the community a little bit. It's not the most active forum by any stretch of the imagination, but you can kind of roll back and see names and stuff and see what people are posting. Just get a better feel for the community, all 16,000 members or so. And then your second year, so we've had to change now that we're on the first day of the conference, and hopefully that's going to continue. We've had to change the role of second year and fourth year. So second year, we're having that person be in charge of what we call the forum day. So don't forget, we have symposium day, but then usually 2 days later, we have open forum, which is like a 90-minute session. And so that's all the different AIA TAP chapters. We usually call on them to come up with like a 15-minute presentation about the latest thing they're doing or what they're seeing. And that brings a lot of exposure to the folks that do show up to that. So hopefully second year, you've got the online forum under your belt. Now we're doing an in-person forum for a 90-minute session. Then by the time you're third year, you can put on a conference, right? I mean, you don't get a lot of help. It's natural progression, yeah. And so a lot of the people that join I have experience doing that with like the BIM workshops with Todd Shackelford and Carla Edwards and Bill Allen, as we talked about before the call. Like putting on something, at least I had some ability to do that. My wife actually did the website for the BIM workshops back in the day. This had been 12 years ago or so. So I kind of knew what was going on there, and I'd been to probably 40 different conferences, speaking at every one of those. So I had an idea of how to do that. So it was a little bit less stressful for me. And then by your fourth year, you're looking to tackle what we call now the innovation grant. And so that's just us. And this is sort of the first year of us doing this. It used to be called the BIM Awards, and it became the Innovation Awards. And then it was, I want to say it might have been like Ryan Johnson, Brad Prespo, who are retired from the board now, and Nick and Joel said, hey, why are we not making an investment in this? Why we're giving like a piece of paper, great Revit award kind of thing. Why don't we take some of our funding and provide an investment for folks that are coming up? Maybe it's a Revit plugin, maybe it's the next test fit, maybe it's an AI tool that could help architects. Like, yeah, I could go off on a rant on this, on how low the investment profile of AEC is. And we're like the fourth largest industry in the world, and we're like the last place in terms of like investment for technology and innovation. It's
right.
I've got all kinds of stats on that. Just it's super, super frustrating. So we're like, let's do our part. Let's do what we can. And that evolved into the innovation grant. And so we've got some award winners on that. I don't know where that is because I'm not in charge of that, but look for that in the coming months and years. And then Nick, he's got ideas from the 5 people before him. He can talk to the 4 people behind him. We call it sage advice. And so the 5th year, you're kind of like helping set the direction. Now that you've got like, almost a decade worth of just group knowledge there. We want that person to fill in where they can, because they've done everything, right? They've done everything that the 4th year, 3rd year, 2nd year person's done, and give us any kind of advice that they have, help us, improve our network, and reach out to folks and just give us sage advice. That's what we say. But it's more than that.
It's kind of an advisory position at that point.
Yeah. And so it's the place to be.
Yeah.
But I mean, if for some reason the chair can't meet the they get sick or they have a funeral or something that they can't make up, it's kind of the 5th year person's responsibility to kind of pick up the pieces and then be the co-chair real quick if something like that were to happen. It's a good gap stop.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, and so that's what you can expect. I mean, there are months where it's probably 2 hours a month, and there are months where then 50 hours a month could be very, very much could be. So, especially in your 3rd year when you're putting on a conference with amazing speakers. Right. We should talk about the speakers.
This episode is made possible with support from Guardian for Revit, because even superheroes need sidekicks in the BIM world. Are you ready to say goodbye to the model headaches and hello to a smoother BIM management? Meet Guardian, a revolutionary Revit add-in that's like a command center for your BIM strategy. Guardian is dedicated to helping teams protect their models, automate consistency, and ensure a standard of quality in their Revit projects. With Guardian, you'll save time, avoid mistakes, and build trust in your system. Guardian takes a holistic approach to improving the user experience by providing the data and solutions you need to address issues quickly before they become a problem. Through actionable insights, you can customize the Guardian settings to reflect your firm's standards and best practices with in-the-moment user education and project protections. Guardian ensures your teams can focus on what they do best: building, designing, and engineering. Trusted by firms worldwide since 2018, Guardian is your go-to add-in for the complex world of BIM. With immediate and measurable ROI, firms have saved thousands of hours by preventing mistakes before they happen. Are you ready to elevate your team's Revit experience? To learn more or take advantage of a free 30-day trial, visit www.getguardian.tech/TRXL. Together, let's take a stand in the new, proactive era of BIM management. My thanks to Guardian for supporting this episode of the TRXL podcast. And now, let's get back to the conversation. Let's talk about the conference that you just had. The Symposium was fantastic. So you want to give us kind of an overview of it, and then we can get into a little bit more detail into each one of the sections?
Yeah. So everybody knows well, I shouldn't say that, but everybody knows Phil Bernstein. I'm just super, super happy that he said yes. I honestly, when we first started, we didn't even approach him because we thought we wouldn't be able to even get his attention, and the fact that he came in and knocked it out of the park was incredible. And he could meet the afternoon. And so some of us knew Mehdi Nourbakhsh, and so I got in touch with Dr. Mehdi and asked him if he could be our morning keynote. And pretty much right away, I explained everything that was going on, how he'd be a great fit. And after probably one or two conversations, he accepted. And I'm so glad he did, because for a second there, I didn't think he was going to, and we were getting to be late February, early March, maybe even late March. And it would be really hard on short notice, like a 2-month notice, to get anybody else. So I'm super glad he said yes. And he's got the book out now that's called Augmented. And I gave a couple copies away at the session, because that's what I do. That's one thing that I'm known for, is I always give a book away when nobody's expecting it. And so his discussion was around how design professionals can augment themselves or the practice with this concept of super intelligence, as we all know, AI, artificial intelligence. So absolutely mind-boggling session. So it was unlike your typical session where you kind of sit back in a passive mode and just listen to a speaker. No. He has this great presentation it's just this mix of like passive, active. And so he would get up and kind of explain the thesis. And then we would break into, not small groups or anything, but whoever's sitting at your table or group of tables. And he would just kind of broadly ask questions. And you could use your phone to get onto this app and like explain like a quick survey, Mentimeter or whatever it was called. And really helped firms, I'm going to simplify this as much as I can, helped everybody in the room at least start to get to a strategic thinking point written down that they could take with them about how technology works in their practice and how they can do it better. So that in itself was probably worth the $100, to show up that day. That was absolutely phenomenal. And so it was, again, him talking and discussing like, here's where it is, here's where it could go, here's what other folks are doing, here's what I'm doing, and then let's sit down and discuss it in a way that helps you. And then he'd get back up and he'd do another thesis, and then we would sit back down. So it was absolutely, you were there. I mean, what was your takeaway?
Yeah, a couple things about Mehdi. Mehdi's been on the show before, and I've been through his workshop as well. And I think one of the things that I appreciate about his approach, number one, is like the way that he engages with the audience and has that the delivery of information, and then there's like the active part that you were talking about, right, where people are having an active discussion and then maybe reporting back out of that. Is fantastic, because it keeps everybody on their toes. It keeps people thinking and participating, not just sitting there. It's not just a one-way conversation. But what I appreciate about him is two things. Number one is that he gets everybody on the same page he does a good job at that, because the big problem with technology often is that people hear something secondhand, third hand, it could even be firsthand, but they're hearing a version of it that, number one, may not be current, and number two, just might be scary enough to say, I'm never going to touch that. And so AI is definitely one of those things, right? And this is his expertise. And so what he does is he takes everybody through, like, this is first he defines what it is and gets everybody on the same page. And then we start to talk about practical applications. But the goal isn't just to find something to do with technology. So the other thing that I appreciate about his approach is that he gets everybody to think about what they do best or why they do what they do. And then we figure out what the right technology is to approach tackling that, right? So it's just like any tool. You need to use it for its purpose, right? And so you're not trying to find something to do with AI. You're trying to solve a business problem or provide a value for your clients. And then you're going to pick the right tool to do the job. And sometimes that might be AI, right? And Mehdi's great at walking people through that. So number one, it kind of gets rid of the fear and turns it into excitement about the possibilities. And then we start to think about what the possibilities are. And then we say, okay, are these tools the right fit to start to try to accomplish those possibilities? So overall, I totally agree with you. The way that he delivers his keynotes is fantastic. And it is very much like a workshop style of an interaction. And I feel like we're all there to, like, we're up for the challenge. We're architects. Like, this is what we live for, is solving problems. And so he has a really great way of kind of engaging people to flex those muscles that we already have in our industry, and really like turn that, and with everybody else in the room, kind of turn that into a really amazing session.
Yeah, it was very exciting. So I was taking pictures and taking video the whole time, because we try to scrapbook it too and collect all that. And a lot of people had no idea that 3 hours went by. They said it was not long enough, and it was just so incredible. So yeah, that was great. And then we obviously broke for lunch. We had our sponsor, Guardian for Revit, kind of give a little discussion. So hats off to them. Without our sponsors' help, we wouldn't have been able to pull this off either. We had Nenshep Group as a sponsor, and we had them give a presentation later. This, Nenshep Group, DeRofus, Bluebeam, and all the crazy awesome softwares we use. And then we came back from lunch, and we had Phil Bernstein, and in a great presentation name. It was something like "The Overwhelming, Unintelligible, Meaningless Mess. How will AI make sense of digital design?" Or will AI make sense of digital design?
It was a great clickbaity title.
Yeah. I know he does that on purpose. So, but yeah, I mean, just again, wonderful presentation. That so many takeaways. Just about how to be skeptical but positive, and how to really investigate and research. A little bit like what Mehdi was saying. Right tool, right time, right project, right goal. And how AI has evolved since like 60. I think it went back to like the 60s or something.
50s or 60s, yeah.
And so he just took us through that timeline to get us to today, and then he took us from today where it could go. And some of there was some stuff for shock value. Maybe it doesn't go there. There was some stuff that's like shock value, but it is happening. And then there was some stuff that's like not quite there yet, but it is developing, but it's maybe 5 years out. So it was good to see how that branched off in all the different directions. Again, fascinating. The presenter. It's absolutely, you missed out if you've never been to one of his. They're so well curated. It's hard to describe.
Absolutely. Yeah, his talk was his talks are always filled with information, but in a really he doesn't just present information. The way that he connects dots, I think, is what really makes it valuable and meaningful to hear them in person, because he has a way of, like, his understanding is vast, but also his experience is vast. Like from his working at Yale and Autodesk, and being his involvement with AIA and Pelly Clark Pelly, and he's worked in the firms, he's worked at the product providers, he's worked with the AIA for a long time. He's taught. He runs the whole gamut of age groups, right? Students all the way to the
very
people who've been in the practice for a really long time. Yeah. And so he brings a great perspective that is pretty all encompassing to the table. And so when he speaks, I mean, it's very well not only researched but delivered. And he has a research group at the school that's helping pull this information together and put it into diagrams and really explain things in a way that architects can understand, right? Like it's very visual, the things that he's saying as well. So he backs that up with the diagrams. And I always find that to be particularly useful in the way that he gets his message out. So, and recently wrote the book on AI and ML, right? So this is kind of this talk was an extension of what's even changed since that book came out, which was not that long ago.
Right. So. Right. Also a book I gave away at the conference.
Right.
Both, by the way, both their books for the first time were at the AIA bookstore, and both books sold out at the AIA bookstore. So any future speakers that have a book, Just know that we sell out.
You help sell copies, right? Which is hard to do in today's world. So yeah, good job.
Yeah, yeah. No, pretty excited about that. So yeah, again, we also want to be as gracious with our speakers as possible and offer them as much, more than just a free meal that day. But we want to really connect with them and help move their message forward in whatever way we can. We're nonprofit. We're a subcategory of a nonprofit. Like, so we unfortunately we've never really paid a speaker, and so I think we maybe got them gift cards or things like that, but like we've never paid them. So that's just great that they were able to do that pro bono for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then we had
for the betterment of the community.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And then we had a panel session. And typically TAP is it's like all panels for the longest time. It was very few like keynotes and presentations and things like that. It was like maybe we'd have a keynote and then the rest of the day was panels. But being the chair that I am, I wanted to change it up and wanted to totally change it up, quite honestly, and make it more interactive and make 2 keynotes and still include a panel because I still want people to hear from different groups. And we also wanted to activate and involve other KCs that don't get this opportunity. So obviously we reached out to Jeff Huber. He's on the Strategic Council. Scott Knudsen and is co-chair or former co-chair of project management. And then Laura Wake Ramos, she's also involved in Strategic Council, and then she's the co-chair for project delivery. She's with Mortensen. And so we wanted to mix as many of our friends as possible into this and ask the AI question to project management, project deliveries. How is the AI Strategic Council viewing this? Because this is a big question right now. And it has been for 3 years, but like it seemed like this year, we're bursting at the seams with AI. Like it's this new miracle drug that arrived suddenly with this glowing promise, and skepticism, and how are firms using it, and how do we use, even just asking generally, like how would project delivery use AI, or how would construction use it, how would design use it, and so we wanted to help people at least engage in the discussion or how to develop an AI strategy for firms, easy to do it steps, and so that's what that panel was all about. And it was moderated by our very own Alex Pollock. Again, she's on the committee. She's a 1-year volunteer, but we hope to get her back another year. She's just been doing great stuff. And so she had a whole list of questions. We batted a whole bunch of AI questions around, and I think she did a fantastic job. Learned a lot.
This episode is made possible with support from AVAIL. Along with their newly released Revit Application Version Management, AEC software company AVAIL has added another powerful new workflow feature called Palettes to its suite of content management capabilities. Palettes are user-customized lists of content in AVAIL and can function as a favorites list, as starter content for a specific project, or to drive workflows such as redlining construction details. Customers administrators can add palettes to their accounts through the AVAIL Manage portal page today. Interested in seeing palettes in action first? Request a demo at getavail.com/request-demo. AVAIL helps AECO firms better manage, organize, and navigate information faster. My thanks to AVAIL for supporting this episode of the TRXL podcast. And now let's return to the conversation. And can you talk about why you picked those ones to participate in this?
Yeah. So again, it just happened to be, I don't know if it's pure luck or just, I just started talking with folks, and that's really what my strategy was as chairs, to just get to know people. And I got to know Laura a little bit, and she was just, how can I help? How can I help? How can I help? And I was just turning in my head. I was like, I don't know how this is going to fit in, until it clicked one day. And I was like, oh, okay, we can't help you put on a conference, but you can be part of ours. Is that helpful? She loved that idea. And so we were like, okay, let's think about this. And again, Alex Pollock was super helpful on this, helped me kind of formulate this. I don't ever want to get the impression that I put on the conference. That's not even close to how it happened. everybody on the committee helps, and you're just kind of the phase for the day, I guess, and then you're exhausted. So this tremendous amount of help from all the committee members.
Nice.
So that's how they got on, and then Scott and I want to say Jeff and Evelyn Lee were going to submit a full session at the AIA National. It was something, I'm paraphrasing, it was like AI for dummies or something like that. Just like basically this session, but like a little bit different. And so we kind of re-meshed it up, and Scott didn't want to present it. And I was like, no, this is kind of your idea, so you're definitely on the panel. And then Jeff was also involved in that. And he teaches down in Florida as well, at the university. So he was absolutely super fantastic on this too. Very knowledgeable, very well connected. He's on the strategic council, and hats off to him, because the strategic council, like 2 weeks before AIA National kicked off, they said that they were going to have a meeting on the first day. So he broke out of his strategic council meeting just to sit on the panel for that hour, and then went back and did his voting and stuff like that. So he's a very busy guy, and I'm super grateful that he was able to come in and share his knowledge about how the strategic council is viewing AI, and because it's still very new. It's still like, what are the legal ramifications? What are the ethical ramifications? So those are the things that they're dealing with, and we're hoping that sort of comes back to us now that TAP has made these connections. So to answer your question, I got really lucky.
Okay. So let's talk about the feedback that you've gotten from this. So I assume there's a lot of positive feedback, but I'm also interested in critical feedback as far as, you had a lot of participants there. What did you hear when it came to how the day went?
Everybody wanted more. And I want to say it was Ed Atkins. I wrote a post on this on LinkedIn, and it was something, I'll paraphrase it, but it was something like he'd never been to something that had so much information in such a short amount of time, that was so digestible. And so that's, again, good criticism. I'd rather have that than the opposite. And so just tremendous feedback from folks. And it wasn't just him. I'm still getting stuff, a month later. You got to remember, this was only last month.
Yeah.
So I kind of expect to get an email out of the blue. Hey, can you give me? We've had a lot of presentation requests as well from Phil and Mehdi, and recording requests. And unfortunately, it's not in our budget to record anything. So those are kind of the, I guess, non-critical feedback things. Is we can't afford to have a videographer, but we can give you the presentation. So reach out to me. I can get you a condensed, very shortened, abbreviated version of Phil's that he shared with us, which is phenomenal. And then Mehdi's presentation. You can't really capture their energy and their involvement in those, but at least you'll have the quote unquote digital paper copy. Other things are everybody wants to do AI again next year. It seems like some of the feedback, and that's not up to me. That's up to Cesar Escalante, my successor. And I have a feeling that it's going to be a little bit more driven towards like sustainable efforts. So just kind of dropping that out there for folks. Again, we want your feedback. That's a direction people are interested in. I'd love to get feedback from that too. But yeah, just more like, okay, great. You gave us world-class presenters and filled our heads with knowledge. What's the next step? And I think that's where we're going with this, is that after every previous TAP Symposium, which was BCC, you talked a lot, you got a lot of handouts, and then now what? And so we're redesigning the website, or updating the website, I should say, to where we are going to start putting these resources up that are just a little bit more available. So you don't have to like reach out to me or the next chair and say, where do I get a copy of this? We're working on like the next step. Like, okay, now you've done this. Here's how you get in touch with Mehdi if you want him to come in and give a presentation, or Phil if you want him to come into your firm, or Zoom call into your firm and give that presentation. Because again, seeing them in person is totally different than just reading it on your laptop screen. It's totally different.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to learn so much more if you hear from them. And so
Right.
Sorry, does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, I am interested in where this is going because I think often, Phil Reed says it best. He says that the best thing about conferences is the conversations after the presentations, right? So a lot of people are left kind of after that, just kind of, okay, that was an amazing experience. Now what do I do? And so you do need to provide, I think, as an AIA level, group here, like what are some actionable steps? How can I now, what is the next step that I need to take? It's like not even 20 steps away, but what's the next step that I can take to start to implement these ideas? Or who do I talk to? Where can I get help? I mean, all of these are seems like the natural progression. So it's great to hear that you guys are actually putting that into practice.
Yeah. And anybody can reach out to me at any time. I'm fully available on LinkedIn. I do get emails and questions all the time about where to get started. And so that's even starting with me, I'm a great connector of like, hey, what's your problem? Oh, this is a really good person for that. Or here's my friend Bill, like you should talk to him. Like I can definitely help facilitate that as well. I mean, we don't need a website for that. We just need human connection, right? That's where it starts. Yeah. That's where I feel it should stay.
Maybe let's just go in that direction for a minute as we wrap up here. I think, what you just said and the thing that you're talking about being good at doing is so important in our industry. And maybe you can just talk about how that has been valuable to you, the whole like building the network, because when I was starting as digital practice leader, I mean, to go back to one of your earlier points, there was no playbook at all, right? And so it's like, who do I look at as examples? Who can I talk to? And it became about building the network, which is where this podcast came from, right? It's just building this network over time. That's added value to me. Now I'm giving back, and I want to add that value to everybody else, whoever decides to listen to these. But for you personally, and maybe just to kind of talk about the power of networking and why it's valuable, not everybody's extroverted. I guarantee that I think more people are introverted in architecture than extroverted. So it's difficult, but just talk about the value from your perspective of networking, in-person events, and where that value can be found and had for the benefit.
Yeah. It takes a while. It doesn't happen overnight, but I think my path, if people were interested, I probably was an introvert. I'm definitely not an extrovert. I'm maybe an ambivert. I can kind of go between them. I definitely like smaller groups. So getting up on stage and speaking at 40 or so, different conferences. I'll be speaking at AI in Nebraska. I'll be speaking at AI in Louisiana later this year. So that was not a natural progression for me. I'm going to give it to you raw. Here's what happened. I got laid off in 2011 or something like that, to Thanksgiving 2011. And that kind of stuck with me. And that's when I started the Architect Machines that I haven't mentioned yet. But because I lost all of the models that I was creating, and they weren't necessarily my property. I was being paid for them. The firm that I worked for went out of business. And I never wanted that to happen to anybody ever. So I created Architect Machines, which was like a model. I just would upload my Revit models and Dynamo scripts and Grasshopper scripts and say, take them for free. Like, I don't want to lose them. I got them backed up on, this website that has backup to backup to backup. So anybody can have it. They're free to log in and download a bunch of cool Dynamo scripts. And so that's what happened there. And then I thought about it, and I was getting involved. I eventually got hired at another firm. And I got involved in putting on a conference. And that was like BIM workshops, again, Carla Edwards, Todd Shackelford, Bill Allen, a whole bunch of like HDR, Louis Daily, DLR group folks. And that was in Omaha, Nebraska. And I went from like helping, like I mentioned, my wife actually did the website for me. I went from that side of things to actually presenting at it. And like Stephen Schell introduced me at my first ever speaking gig. Like, that's a huge, huge honor. The guy is amazing. And so I started speaking, and that led to another speaking gig, and that led to another speaking thing. And all of a sudden I'm speaking at AU and Build, and I even got some research published and presenting at healthcare design. So I'm very looks like an M-shaped person, right? Not a T-shape or a pie shape, like very broad, very like I'm very go deep in like a lot of different categories. I feel like, and so that just I meet this person. I saw him again at another conference. I saw him again at another conference, and hey, we should team up. And that's how my relationship with like Cesar Escalante started. Like we've been friends for about a decade because when we're together, we just kick butt. Like so, like we just do. I don't know why we just really get along. We have a lot of the same common traits, yeah. So that's how that all started, and that's taken about 15 years to do that. Was it maybe not 15, 2012 to 2024. And so yeah, that led to being published in Randy's book. I'm heavily featured in his Super Users book, and it's just constantly getting on an airplane and putting together great material. Again, like Cesar and I'm not there to present to do a bad job. I'm there to be top speaker, and we would consistently be top speaker. It's got to be great material, right, Evan? Like this is why you do the podcast. It's got to be great material. You've got to have your research done. It's got to be top notch, world class stuff. That's just how I think of it. And that's where I'm not there yet, but like that's where I want to be. And so that's where all the network and connections and the human connections all came in, and just slowly the business card pile started adding up. I was giving away tablets at AU. I talked to NVIDIA into giving me like 20 tablets, so they were making tablets still. I'd give those away at my session. And it was just, I've had the most incredible fun time, like racing Ferraris and stuff with some folks for free. I just get out there. You can have a ton of fun.
That's great. Well, and those conferences, to me, the value of those conferences is the people who attend them, right? And to have those conversations after the presentations, because that is really where you get to know people, right? Like when it's not driven by the agenda of the presentation or the order of the slides, it's like, well, what else is going on there? What are the actual struggles? What are the things below the surface that we can dig into? And, let's go grab a beer and talk about it, or let's go grab some food, or let's go grab some coffee, or let's sit down right here in the hallway. There's so many great conversations happening. And again, like just to bring it back to the show, the idea of publishing those for other people to hear, I find it's incredibly useful to build the community around these amazing conversations and the amazing people that are the basis of these conversations and why they're passionate about doing what they're doing. That to me is the real value of these conferences. I always go for the people, not for the classes, not for the symposium. Sorry, Ryan, but there's people in that audience, right, who are in those keynote speakers that, like we've said many times during this talk, it's like you had to be there.
Yeah,
you did. You had to be there, right? Because if you just download the PowerPoint, you are not going to get all the information, and you don't get what was happening in that room at that time. So, and there's, say what you want about hybrid work and remote and on-site and all those things, right? But there is a value to being around other people and sharing ideas, or just absorbing ideas through things that you hear in real time during those conversations and right after those presentations. So just want to put a plug out there for people who are, thinking about TAP symposiums and hearing about these things. Like there is a lot of value and information that's shared at these that you have to be there. So I'm just putting it out there. Great. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to tell everybody about TAP, and I'm hoping that this will bring some more exposure and awareness to technology and architecture practice and the knowledge community. We'll put links to everything where people can find out more about that in the show notes for this episode. Also put a link in there to connect with you on LinkedIn. And is there anything else that you want to let people know about before we say goodbye?
Come help us make it better than it is now. Yeah, we need your help. Love it.
Great call to action. All right. Well, Ryan, it's been a pleasure, and I'm sure we'll be able to do this again, have another conversation. So thanks so much.
Thanks.
Thanks to our sponsors, and thanks to our members this week. Find out how you can become a member at trxl.co, and I'll talk to you again next week.